The night streets were empty as Selene ran, her cloak flapping, while Kael's shadow mirrored every movement. "We can't stop," Selene whispered, her voice trembling as Lord Malrick's laughter echoed through the ruins. Kael's eyes scanned the darkness, muscles tensed, and he muttered, "I'll protect you." Selene clutched her amulet, feeling the weight of her curse pressing hard against her chest. Lord Malrick's magic stirred the shadows, twisting them like living creatures. Selene glanced at Kael, trust mixing with fear, and Kael nodded with determination. Together they advanced, their footsteps echoing off shattered stones. Lightning split the sky, briefly illuminating Selene, Kael, and the distant sinister form of Lord Malrick. Every heartbeat was a drum of urgency. Shadows moved and whispered around them, and Selene knew there was no turning back. The ruins of the ancient library whispered secrets as Selene and Kael slipped through broken arches. "These books," Selene murmured. "They might hold a clue to Malrick's weakness." Kael scanned the shattered shelves, fingers brushing dust, murmuring her name with caution. Lord Malrick's magic hummed nearby, unseen but felt, tugging at the shadows around them. Selene's eyes caught a glowing symbol on the floor. Her breath quickened, and she whispered, "Kael's name." Kael knelt beside her, inspecting the glyph, a mix of fear and determination in his voice. Each step was a test as the wind howled through fractured windows. They moved silently, hearts racing, knowing that one wrong move could summon Malrick instantly. Shadows flickered on the walls, carrying whispers that chilled them. Selene took a deep breath, gripping Kael's hand, and nodded, ready to face whatever came next. Lightning streaked outside as Selene and Kael crouched in the library ruins. "Malrick senses us," Kael warned, scanning the shadows. Selene shook her head, whispering his name. "We have to finish this." Lord Malrick's laughter rumbled, echoing through broken arches and shattered stone. Selene's fingers hovered over the glyph, her mind racing, connecting fragments of prophecy with Kael's steady presence beside her. Every step echoed danger. Kael's hand moved instinctively toward his sword, while Selene's eyes reflected a fierce determination. Wind gusted through the broken windows, scattering papers and dust around them. Together they pressed forward, hearts pounding, every heartbeat synchronized with the library's haunted pulse. The shadows seemed to watch, whispering names, stirring unease. Selene exchanged a glance with Kael, a silent agreement forming. They would not fail. Selene's amulet flared as Malrick's magic drew closer, filling the room with an eerie blue glow. Kael shouted her name, "Stay back!" Yet Selene stepped forward, drawn by the symbol's power. Lord Malrick's voice echoed, taunting them. "You cannot escape me, Selene." Kael. Fear and resolve clashed in Selene's chest as she concentrated on the glyph, channeling the energy. Kael circled protectively, scanning the shadows for Malrick's form. A gust of wind extinguished candles, leaving only magical light and the flicker of lightning outside. Selene whispered Kael's name again, and he nodded, ready to defend her. Magic swirled around, casting distorted shadows. The room felt alive, reacting to Malrick's presence and Selene's determination. Their hands brushed, a silent promise of unity. They braced for the inevitable confrontation, hearts synchronized in rhythm and purpose. A deafening crack split the air as Lord Malrick emerged from the shadows, eyes blazing. Selene froze for a heartbeat. Then Kael shouted her name and lunged forward to shield her. "We can end this tonight," Malrick hissed, stepping closer, the glyph beneath Selene glowing brighter. Selene whispered Kael's name, summoning courage. Kael tightened his grip on the sword, eyes locked on Malrick. Magic and wind swirled, scattering debris as the room trembled. Selene raised her amulet, energy spilling in waves. Kael moved protectively, guiding her steps. Every heartbeat seemed to echo Malrick's laughter. The library was alive with anticipation, the glyph's light connecting Selene, Kael, and the looming threat. They faced the storm together, ready to strike or defend, knowing the outcome would shape all their fates. Selene and Kael staggered into the moonlit forest, the air thick with mist and foreboding. "We must find the Heartstone," Selene said, her voice trembling but determined. Kael scanned the shadows, whispering Selene's name as distant howls echoed. Lord Malrick's presence lingered, unseen yet suffocating, twisting the forest into uneasy shapes. Selene felt the glyph's memory burning in her mind, guiding her steps as Kael's protective hand brushed hers. Every rustle in the fog made Selene gasp, and Kael hissed her name in warning. Branches clawed at their cloaks while moonlight broke through the canopy, casting shifting patterns across their path. Together they pressed forward, hearts synchronized, both aware that Malrick could strike at any moment. Their journey through the mist became a test of courage, wit, and trust, each shadow a possible enemy. The forest grew darker as Selene and Kael stumbled upon a clearing where the Heartstone floated, above a pedestal, radiating light. Kael whispered Selene's name urgently, warning of unseen traps. Selene's eyes sparkled with hope as she stepped forward, her name falling softly from Kael's lips. Lord Malrick's shadow loomed at the forest edge, his laughter drifting through the trees. Selene extended her hand toward the Heartstone, while Kael's stance shifted between guard and encouragement. Each moment stretched, charged with tension, as wind whipped through the branches, scattering leaves around them. Malrick's magic distorted reality, bending light and shadow. Selene and Kael exchanged a determined glance, silently agreeing that nothing would deter them from the Heartstone. The forest itself seemed to pulse with their anticipation and fear. Suddenly, Malrick surged from the shadows, dark magic crackling around him. Selene gasped, calling Kael's name as he sprang forward to intercept. Kael shouted her name in warning while brandishing his sword. Selene concentrated on the Heartstone, its energy flaring in response. Malrick's eyes glowed with malevolent power, his voice calling their names mockingly. The forest shook under the intensity of their magic and will. Selene's hand hovered over the Heartstone while Kael blocked Malrick's attack, shouting her name as sparks of magic collided. Every heartbeat pulsed with danger. The leaves and mist swirled violently as Selene and Kael synchronized their movements, countering Malrick's relentless assault. Courage and determination burned brightly in their eyes, every second a battle of wills and strength. Selene's amulet flared, illuminating the forest as Kael shouted her name, deflecting Malrick's dark blasts. Malrick's laughter echoed, naming Selene and Kael with malevolent delight. Selene's focus sharpened on the Heartstone, calling Kael's name again to coordinate their strike. Magic collided, sending flashes of light dancing across twisted trees. Kael shouted her name, drawing strength from her courage. Selene moved closer to the Heartstone, feeling Malrick's energy tugging at her resolve. The ground quaked under their power as leaves swirled and shadows stretched unnaturally. Every glance between Selene and Kael reinforced their bond. Malrick's shadows crept toward them, but their hearts beat in unison, determined to claim the Heartstone and resist his darkness. A final surge of magic sent Malrick reeling as Selene called Kael's name and seized the Heartstone. Kael lunged, shouting her name, shielding her from the backlash. Malrick's shadowy form flickered, his voice echoing their names in fury. Selene felt the Heartstone's power course through her, radiating warmth and light. Kael kept a vigilant stance, eyes locking with Malrick as he shouted Selene's name for courage. The forest shivered under the spell's intensity. Selene raised the Heartstone, her whisper of Kael's name blending with determination. Malrick staggered, darkness faltering, while Selene and Kael's unity shone in defiance. The forest exhaled as their magic stabilized. Victory and tension intermingled, and the names Selene and Kael had shouted for each other became a testament to courage and trust. Selene and Kael emerged from the moonlit forest, hearts still racing, as dawn painted the sky in streaks of gold and crimson. "We did it," Selene whispered, her voice trembling as Kael smiled, calling her name softly. Malrick's shadow lingered faintly at the forest's edge, his name echoing in their minds. Selene clutched the Heartstone, its warmth grounding her. Kael's protective stance never wavered, calling her name repeatedly as if to assure her safety. Together they walked toward the cliffside overlooking the Valley of Whispers. Selene's gaze swept the horizon while Kael's eyes remained alert, tracking every movement. Birds began to stir, their songs mingling with the echo of their names. The world felt alive, watching their journey. Selene and Kael shared a glance, understanding that this was only the beginning of their true quest. Selene and Kael descended into the Valley of Whispers, names echoing in every hollow as if the land remembered their struggle. Selene murmured Kael's name while sensing the valley's ancient magic. Kael replied with her name, alert for traps hidden beneath the mist. Strange glowing runes adorned the stone paths, illuminating their faces with ethereal light. Malrick's presence lingered like a cold breeze, whispering their names mockingly. Selene and Kael exchanged determined glances. Every step seemed alive, responding to their heartbeat and whispered names. Shadows twisted and swirled around them. Their unity was their shield. With each movement, Selene and Kael felt stronger, braver, bound by the Heartstone's growing energy. A hidden chamber appeared at the valley's heart, its massive doors etched with ancient symbols. Selene's hand touched Kael's, calling his name as they pushed the doors open. Kael echoed her name, bracing for danger. Inside, a crystal nexus pulsed with energy, illuminating every corner. Malrick's name seemed to reverberate within the chamber, his dark magic attempting to corrupt the light. Selene concentrated on the Heartstone while Kael held back shadows creeping toward them. Each pulse of light made Selene whisper Kael's name for strength, and Kael repeated hers with determination. Their footsteps echoed, voices intertwining with the chamber's hum. The nexus responded to their unity, casting radiant patterns across stone walls. Every heartbeat strengthened their resolve as Malrick's power waned. The Heartstone flared brighter, reacting to Selene and Kael as they joined hands, calling each other's names in unison. Shadows recoiled, Malrick's voice screaming their names in fury. The chamber trembled, stones cracking under the raw power of unity. Selene's eyes shone with courage as Kael shouted her name, their voices merging with the Heartstone's hum. Light cascaded, dancing on walls, chasing darkness into corners. Every pulse of magic synchronized with their names, binding energy and intent. Malrick's form twisted and contorted, struggling to remain. Selene and Kael pressed forward, calling each other's names like a mantra. Their combined energy radiated, overpowering the malevolent force. The chamber filled with radiant intensity, signaling the beginning of Malrick's defeat. Finally, Malrick's shadow dissolved into the void as Selene and Kael held the Heartstone aloft, calling each other's names one last time. Light radiated outward, healing cracks in the chamber and illuminating the valley beyond. Kael smiled, whispering Selene's name as she returned it softly. The Heartstone's glow settled, warm and steady. The valley seemed to sigh in relief, birds singing, wind rustling through trees. Selene and Kael embraced briefly, their names echoing in harmony with the world. Every obstacle they faced, every dark whisper of Malrick had strengthened their bond. With unity, courage and trust, they had overcome the darkness. The valley glowed in golden light as the Heartstone's power promised a new beginning. Selene and Kael walked through the newly restored valley, calling each other's names as if to confirm their reality. Trees swayed gently in the morning breeze while birds sang. Malrick's absence was felt in the silent corners, and every echo of their names reminded them of the struggle they had survived. Selene traced the Heartstone's glow, whispering Kael's name in wonder. Kael smiled and whispered Selene's name back, scanning the horizon for any lingering shadows. The valley seemed to embrace them, light shimmering off dew-drenched leaves. Their journey felt far from over, yet hope thrummed in every heartbeat. Selene and Kael shared glances, calling each other's names in reassurance, stepping forward into the unknown with unity and courage. Selene and Kael reached a crystalline river, sparkling under the morning sun. "Kael," Selene called softly, her voice reflecting in the water. Kael replied, "Selene," as he offered a hand to steady her on slippery rocks. Fish shimmered beneath the water's surface, reacting to their presence. Malrick's memory lingered like a shadow behind them, but the Heartstone's glow reassured them. Selene touched the water, calling Kael's name in quiet awe, as it rippled around their reflections. Kael laughed softly, repeating Selene's name, his eyes filled with calm determination. The river sang with life, and their unity seemed to strengthen the Heartstone. Every ripple echoed their names, intertwining their bond with nature itself. Deep in the forest, Selene and Kael discovered a hidden glade, sunlight filtering through leaves in golden shafts. "Kael," Selene whispered, her voice carrying through the glade. Kael repeated her name, eyes alert. Strange flowers bloomed in patterns resembling constellations, their glow faintly reflecting the Heartstone's energy. Malrick's lingering shadows had no power here, yet their names echoed as if the forest itself knew their story. Selene knelt to examine the flowers, whispering Kael's name softly. Kael called her name back, crouching beside her, his hand brushing hers. The glade seemed alive with recognition, responding to their unity. Every sound, breeze, and movement echoed their names, reinforcing the bond that had defeated darkness. Selene and Kael approached a towering waterfall, cascading into a crystal-clear pool. Selene's voice echoed, calling Kael's name as water mist kissed her face. Kael called her name back, shielding his eyes against sunlight, reflecting off the spray. The Heartstone hummed with energy, vibrating with each of their names spoken aloud. Malrick's memory flickered, but was powerless against the purity of their bond. Selene stepped closer to the pool, watching the light refract through the falling water, whispering Kael's name again. Kael echoed hers, his hand brushing the Heartstone as it pulsed. Every droplet seemed alive, shimmering in harmony with their unity. The waterfall roared, a symphony of nature, celebrating their victory and shared courage. At the valley's edge, Selene and Kael gazed at the horizon where mountains kissed the sky. "Kael," Selene said softly, her voice full of hope. Kael replied, "Selene," his eyes reflecting trust and determination. The Heartstone pulsed gently in Selene's hands, casting a soft glow. Malrick was gone, his darkness dissipated, yet their names lingered in the wind, like a reminder of every challenge overcome. Selene and Kael held hands, stepping forward as light bathed the valley in gold. Birds took flight, their songs carrying the names of Selene and Kael across the land. Every step was a promise, every whisper a pledge. Their unity, courage, and the Heartstone ensured a future free from shadow as they ventured together into the next chapter of their journey. Selene and Kael entered the ancient ruins where the Heartstone's power first awakened. "Kael," Selene whispered, running her fingers along the carved stone walls. Kael echoed her name, scanning the dim corridors. Shadows flickered as if alive, reminding them of Malrick's final moments. Selene's hand trembled slightly on the Heartstone, and Kael reached out, calling her name with reassurance. Together they advanced, their footsteps echoing, each step harmonizing with the Heartstone's pulsing glow. Ancient symbols shimmered as Selene whispered Kael's name, and Kael repeated hers. The ruins seemed to recognize their unity. Every shadow, every stone responded to their presence, as if the world itself acknowledged the victory they had achieved. In the heart of the ruins, Selene and Kael discovered an altar glowing with golden energy. "Kael," Selene called softly, awe in her voice. Kael responded, "Selene," as he placed his hand on the stone altar beside hers. The Heartstone pulsed brightly, echoing their names. Faint echoes of Malrick's voice faded into nothingness, replaced by the warmth of the golden light. Selene knelt and whispered Kael's name again, feeling the stone respond. Kael echoed hers, a smile breaking across his face. The energy swirled around them, illuminating the ruins with golden hues. Every pulse, every whisper of their names seemed to awaken the ancient magic, affirming that their unity had restored balance. Selene and Kael watched as golden light spread throughout the ruins, banishing every lingering shadow. "Kael," Selene said with relief and wonder. Kael repeated her name, smiling as darkness dissolved. The Heartstone floated slightly above the altar, radiating energy. Selene and Kael reached for it together, calling each other's names as the magic surged. Ancient carvings glowed brighter, responding to their unity. Every whisper of their names echoed, harmonizing with the Heartstone's pulse. Malrick's darkness had no hold here. Selene's eyes shone as she held Kael's hand, and Kael echoed her name with a quiet laugh. The ruins, once filled with despair, now thrummed with life, reflecting their bond and victory. Outside the ruins, Selene and Kael stood as sunlight poured through the clouds, bathing the valley in brilliance. "Kael," Selene said, voice trembling with happiness. Kael called her name back, his gaze full of trust. The Heartstone glowed softly in Selene's hands. Birds circled overhead, and the wind carried their names across the valley. Malrick's shadow had vanished entirely, leaving only the warmth of unity. Selene smiled, whispering Kael's name again. Kael echoed her voice, stepping closer. Every element, the sun, wind, and the Heartstone, seemed to celebrate their triumph. The valley radiated hope and promise. Selene and Kael stood hand in hand, their names entwined in the world itself, a final tribute to courage and love. Selene and Kael watched the horizon as the Heartstone pulsed gently in the fading light. "Kael," Selene said softly, smiling. Kael responded, "Selene," his eyes reflecting every trial they had overcome. The valley glowed with renewed life. Trees swayed, rivers sparkled, and the mountains shimmered in the sunset. Their names echoed in the wind, a lasting testament to courage and unity. Selene and Kael clasped hands and stepped forward together. The Heartstone's glow softened, symbolizing peace. Every whisper of their names carried across the land, celebrating the end of darkness. Selene and Kael walked toward the horizon, bound by love, strength, and the hope of tomorrow. Selene and Kael returned to the restored city, walking along streets that once lay in ruin. "Kael," Selene whispered, marveling at the thriving market and vibrant murals. Kael replied, "Selene," smiling at children playing freely. Merchants called their names, welcoming them back. The Heartstone hung from Selene's neck, glowing softly, reflecting their journey. Selene traced the carvings on the city gates, whispering Kael's name as he echoed hers. Every corner of the city shimmered with life and hope. Birds sang, fountains danced, and laughter filled the air. The people recognized Selene and Kael as heroes, and every name whispered in greeting resonated with the courage and unity that had restored their world. At the city square, Selene and Kael watched a festival in their honor. "Kael," Selene said, awe in her voice. Kael echoed her name, smiling as lanterns floated into the sky. The Heartstone shimmered softly, harmonizing with the music. Selene twirled, letting her cloak catch the light, and Kael called her name again. Their presence inspired joy and peace among the people. Musicians played, dancers moved gracefully, and every corner of the square celebrated their victory. Selene and Kael's names became chants of gratitude and remembrance. The city felt alive, renewed by their courage and the Heartstone's magic. Their unity, whispered in each cheer, had transformed despair into hope. Selene and Kael walked along the riverbank as the sun set, casting golden reflections on the water. "Kael," Selene said softly, her voice filled with peace. Kael responded, "Selene," squeezing her hand gently. The Heartstone pulsed in harmony with the gentle ripples of the river. Birds flew home, and the city's glow reflected off the water. Selene rested her head on Kael's shoulder, whispering his name as he repeated hers. Their hearts were quiet but full, knowing every struggle had led to this moment. The river mirrored their serenity, carrying their names into the wind. Life continued, stronger than ever, and every element, light, water, and stone, celebrated their unity. On the city walls, Selene and Kael watched the horizon, where mountains met the sky. "Kael," Selene whispered, eyes scanning the distant peaks. Kael echoed her name, his hand resting over hers. The Heartstone glowed faintly, a gentle reminder of what they had endured. Soldiers and citizens paused to greet them by name, honoring their triumph. Selene traced the ancient carvings etched into the wall, whispering Kael's name, and Kael responded. Every wind gust carried their names, resonating through the city. Peace settled into every corner. The past's shadows had vanished, replaced by sunlight and life. Selene and Kael embraced, knowing the world was finally whole. As night fell, Selene and Kael stood beneath a starlit sky, the Heartstone glowing softly between them. "Kael," Selene whispered, her voice almost carried away by the wind. Kael repeated her name, smiling tenderly. Fireflies danced around them, reflecting the Heartstone's gentle light. Selene and Kael clasped hands, feeling the unity of the world and their journey. The city slept peacefully below, illuminated by lanterns and moonlight. Every whisper of their names merged with the night's melody, celebrating courage, love, and hope. Selene and Kael raised their eyes to the stars, knowing that their story, written in light and magic, would be remembered forever. Selene and Kael journeyed beyond the city walls, into the whispering forest, the Heartstone casting a soft glow along the path. "Kael," Selene whispered, scanning the dense trees. Kael replied, Selene, alert to every rustle. Birds and distant wildlife called out their names in harmony. Shadows danced across the moss-covered trunks as the sun filtered through the canopy. Selene traced ancient runes carved into a towering oak, whispering Kael's name as he echoed hers. The forest seemed alive, acknowledging their presence. Every step forward deepened their bond. Their names became part of the forest's breath, intertwining with the magic of the Heartstone. Deeper into the forest, Selene and Kael discovered a hidden glade filled with glowing flowers. "Kael," Selene breathed, eyes wide. Kael repeated her name, awe reflected in his gaze. The Heartstone pulsed in rhythm with the blossoms. Animals peeked from behind trees, calling their names softly. Selene knelt, brushing petals with trembling fingers, while Kael whispered his name near hers. A soft breeze carried laughter and whispers, intertwining with the magic of the glade. Every sound seemed to honor Selene and Kael's courage. The glade itself felt alive, celebrating the unity they had forged and the world they had saved. Selene and Kael heard whispers of a distant waterfall. "Kael," Selene called, stepping toward the sound. Kael echoed her name, following her lead. Mist rose from the cascading water, catching the Heartstone's light. Birds and small creatures called their names in the spray. Selene reached out to touch the water, feeling energy flow into her hands, whispering Kael's name. Kael mirrored her motion, their names overlapping with the roar of the waterfall. The forest seemed to exhale around them, celebrating harmony. Every heartbeat, every step, reinforced the bond between Selene, Kael, and the magic of their world. At the heart of the forest, Selene and Kael found an ancient stone circle covered in vines. "Kael," Selene whispered, tracing glyphs with her fingers. Kael echoed her name, examining the carvings closely. The Heartstone pulsed brighter, resonating with the stones. Wind carried whispers of their names across the circle. Selene knelt and placed the Heartstone on a central pedestal, murmuring Kael's name. Kael repeated hers. Light burst softly from the stones, casting a magical glow over the glade. The forest itself seemed to bow to their presence. Their courage and unity had awakened something ancient and alive, honoring Selene and Kael with every pulse of light. As night fell in the forest, Selene and Kael sat beneath a canopy of stars visible through the treetops. "Kael," Selene whispered, resting against his shoulder. Kael repeated her name, wrapping his arm around her protectively. The Heartstone glowed softly between them, casting gentle light. Fireflies danced and whispered their names in delicate patterns. Selene traced constellations, whispering Kael's name as he echoed hers. The forest hummed with magic and peace. Every shadow, every star, every sound carried their names. Their journey had reached a new beginning, and the unity of Selene and Kael was now woven into the world itself.